Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Perfect Pup podcast.
We're back.
We're back. We're getting more consistent again. We got busy for a minute, but we are back. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about, well, first of all, I'm like laid back chilling in my seat here.
This is a laid back chilling kind of episode.
Okay, yeah, it is. It is. This is a little bit more laid back. Today, it's going to be more of a fun episode. We are, if you're not part of the Perfect Pup community that goes along with the 30-Day Perfect Pup program that Zach George created, go join the course. Join the community as well. This is where all of these questions came from that we're going to be talking about today. Yeah. So Devin posted something that was about he asked, what is the worst advice you've got from a trainer? And we got a ton of really good examples and good answers from people. So we're going to be talking about some of those today.
And for today's pup dates, this one, you've maybe seen it going around. It's been pretty popular. But there was a dog, I think, in Maryland that gave birth to a lime green dog. I think it was a lab. I think it was a yellow lab. Mm-hmm. But one of the puppies was lime green. And I'll put the link in here so you can go look at it. I mean, it is like electric green. It's not like a hint of green. Apparently, it's like some type of something that can be in the...
We should have researched this.
Well, you won't know what it really is. It's like the inside the womb poop.
Oh, okay.
Basically. For some reason, the coloring is different. And that coloring sometimes can stain the dog's coat. And so it's really just like a stain. So... It came out lime green, but within probably, I think they said like a week or two, it'll be normal yellow lab color, but kind of interesting. And guess what they named the dog? Hulk, yes.
I was hoping you'd say it at the same time.
I thought I was actually having you guess. Hulk. They named the dog Hulk, which...
I read your notes.
So that's right.
You think sense. I don't read notes.
You don't usually. But,
yeah, that's true.
Okay, so we're going to dive into the worst dog training advice ever. But I want to give like a really quick kind of overview, like a brief history of dog training. We should probably do a full episode about this because it's pretty interesting.
The history of dog training. Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be a good one.
But just like for like so you have a brief understanding to kind of like preface this really bad advice we're going to talk about. So modern dog training or even like dog training as a whole didn't really start until like the early 1900s. And even then it was more like 1930s, 1940s where people were doing like formal training sessions to like get their dogs to behave a certain way. And in particular, it was people in the military. They were, training the dogs to do military type things like sniffing out bombs or whatever it might be. Those early training routines were very aggressive and kind of rudimentary and not very nice for the dogs. The dogs were in pretty poor circumstances. And it wasn't really until about the 1970s and 80s that you had a few people, Karen Pryor being one of them, who came out with positive reinforcement as we know it now. The concept of And a lot of it was backed by different studies that were being done more in like the psychology world, proving and showing that, hey, if you reinforce with good things, people are actually going to learn quicker and they're going to retain the knowledge better. And that was transferred over to dogs. So I give you that brief history to tell you that like, a lot of us were like, oh yeah, positive reinforcement. Duh. That makes sense. But really it's only been in like mainstream culture for 40 or so years, and it's only been getting popular the past like 20 to 30. And even then it's still like kind of fighting an uphill battle because you have people from a generation previous who are, that's just what they grew up with. It's like they think it's like that's just normal. What they're used to.
That's normal, yeah.
It's normal.
So. The world of dogs is changing a lot.
Oh yeah.
And rapidly too. I mean, we were just talking about it earlier, you know, 15, 20 years ago, everybody kept their dogs outside. Yeah. And that's just how it was. But it's not
they were pampered if they were inside.
Yeah, they were pampered. Now that's totally normal.
100%.
Which is a great thing. Our little buddies right next to us. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's way better.
By the way, I'm just going to own this doorstop right here. We had a little change of, in case you're like, see that and you're like, what in the world is going on?
It's a doorstop.
We had a change of locations where we normally film our podcast. There's some boxes and things there right now that we had to put there. So, so we had to change the location. But in case you guys are wondering about that little number back there.
There it is.
I didn't mean to distract too much.
Oh, no, that's good.
All of that.
That was the overview of dog training. Just giving you, like, painting the picture that modern positive reinforcement is still, like, kind of a newish thing.
Yeah.
So some of this advice you're going to hear, you might think, and we also thought, what the heck, why would anybody think that? But you have to remember that some of this stuff has been perpetuated, these myths and these basically incorrect info has just been perpetuated for a long time.
I want to preface some of this with one thing too, and this is kind of this is far-reaching within the community and advice that's given there and stuff like that. But one preface for this is some of these things that trainers recommend, as crazy and wild as they are, the reason that these things are perpetuated is they might work in the short term.
Yeah, in the short term.
They may work immediately. It's just like, if you want your dog out of a certain area and they get hit because they're in that area, they're going to stay out of that area.
Right.
But what's
while
the
you're
long
watching?
While you're watching.
Yeah.
But what's the long-term effect? And and that's kind of what Devin was talking about before with some of the science that's showing differently now is that there are a lot of psychological effects to certain types of reprimanding, to physical punishment, for things like that, right?
Sorry, I thought there was like a train going by, but there's not. We're not near train tracks. So
no, there's a train going by.
Oh.
Yeah, it's right over there.
Oh, there is. Oh, duh. Okay.
You trying to make us sound higher class than we actually are?
No,
we don't live near the train track.
No, it's just I don't ever recall hearing trains in our office.
We don't see them very often.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
But anyway, so some of these things may work in the moment or while you're watching. Yeah. But what you can't see a lot of times is the psychological effects that has on a dog. Like something like shock collars are a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
It may get your dog to stop in the moment or while they're wearing the collar, but it's creating a lot of anxiety and it's creating other negative psychological effects that are keeping your dog from being the dog that they can be.
Yep.
For
sure.
That's something to keep in mind with some of this.
For sure. It's a good preface. Okay, so I'm going to probably butcher this first name, but Cash Blake? Cautious Blake? I'm not, sorry if I screwed that up.
Kajs
said, our dog had a problem with resource guarding bones. Trainer suggested to get the bone from her and smack her in the face with it so she knows her place. Of course, never consulted that trainer again. No more problems with resource guarding as well, handled with training up. I've heard this from a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of this stems from that like dominance, alpha, you got to be the leader of the pack and show them who's boss. And there's a couple other like that. But it's funny when you think about that on you take a step back and think like, what are you teaching your dog?
Yeah.
Like, you're just teaching them like that they're going to get hit if they want to eat their bone. Like that's just sad too.
Yeah, they don't draw the connection.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot of value there. And we'll give maybe just a couple little thoughts on what you can do for those things. She mentioned it, the trading up. So you've probably seen some videos where it's like if they're working on a chew toy and you give them higher value treats and then take the chew toy away. So kind of just creating that understanding that you're not just going to rip things away from them all the time, but you're going to give them other things that might be better. That's one way to combat resource guarding. But if you do have serious issues, just as a side note, with resource guarding, often it's good to get a positive reinforcement trainer involved because there are really solid techniques that can help you overcome resource guarding that are much more effective than taking the bone and hitting your dog with it. Yeah,
that's an interesting one. Okay, another one, Jasmine Cherry. We can do that name a little more easily.
Yeah, a little easier.
Jasmine Cherry. I've been told to stop my dogs from countersurfing, I need to put up mouse traps.
Mad face emoji.
So putting mouse traps on the edge of the counter so when your dog gets up there to scare them or hurt them or whatever else in between. So, that's an interesting one. I do think that, again, that may keep your dogs from getting on the counter if they think that they're up there, but you're going to hurt your dog.
There's not one?
What happens when there's not one? Yeah, it's not really a great solution, and it's something that could really hurt your dog pretty badly, actually.
Yeah. Especially if they got their snout
their nose is really sensitive.
Yeah. Snout, is that the right word?
Snout works, yeah. Okay. Snout's good. Okay, next one.
Yeah, next one. Kayla Lacey said, again, the question was, what's the worst dog training advice you've ever had? Kayla Lacey said, my first puppy was very stubborn. She would snap and growl at me. A trainer suggested that I whip her with a belt a few times so I could be alpha. Of course, I did not take that advice. Another one where it's just that like the misinformation of like alpha and the pack mentality and, you know, being your dog's boss. Like there's nothing truthful about it. And it creates a lot of this type of, in my mind, it just creates excuses for like being just a little mean to your dog. Like, yeah. I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me. That's for sure.
No. All right. This next one is a weird one. Okay. Kathy Cagle. She says,
this one's the worst.
Yeah. She said, Kathy Cagle, she said, I adopted an older big Doberman who attacked my cats. The Doberman rescue I adopted through told me to cut some cat hair, put it into the dog's mouth, duct tape the dog's mouth closed, and not let him have any food or water for 2 days to teach him a lesson. That is like such a complex, like too often. Okay, so this is a big challenge for people in dog training generally. Is dogs don't have the same ability to reason as humans.
Right.
They work on a much more basic level. And so to try and expect your dog to understand something so complex.
Well, and like an extended period of time.
For 2 days. Yeah. They don't think historically that same way and reason the same way that people do. So to create such a complex solution for that terrible. Is just nuts. That is honestly one of the weirdest things I've ever heard too. Like, who
that's
came
just
up
cruel.
With that? Yeah, it's cruel weird. And it's weird. And anyway, I thought that was super weird.
On your point, I think there's research that says like their ability to like recall like based off of like, okay, I'm having a punishment for this. Like you have like 10 seconds or less.
Yeah.
For like whether you're punishing, hopefully not, or like even reinforcing. Like you have a very short window. So 2 days to think like, oh, my dog will get it. Like
right.
No.
You're going to have dogs with some major issues after if you do something like that.
Yeah, I'm very glad that Kathy did not take that advice.
Yeah.
Okay, Sharon Treelor said, dumb advice. Don't let a dog sit on your lap because if it's above you, it will think it's dominant over you. That one's really funny.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I mean, okay, so don't give your kids shoulder rides either because as soon as they're up there, they're like, I mean, let's be honest, if you have kids, that kind of came to the house anyway. But like they don't have the, I don't know. We're trying to.
Later that night after the shoulder ride, you're going to tell them they have to eat their veggies and they're just going to like hit you and be like, I am the leader of this house.
Yeah, seriously. That's such a, it's so weird, this whole domination thing and alpha pack mentality has been, all that's becoming debunked, but it's just a weird approach to things.
Yeah.
Okay, Lori Voice Barone said, a celebrity / daytime talk show host once said the first thing you should do when you bring home a new puppy is bite him on the face. So you're kind of showing that dominant look. I'm in charge.
I can bite too.
And I can bite too thing. Yeah. We've seen a number of people say that trainers have told them to do that. Someone
said too, like to get your dog on a similar note, like someone said that they got advice to, if their dog is peeing in the house, that I'm not making this up, they should pee on the dog.
Oh my
because
word.
That'll teach them like
so weird
dominance again. Like I want to give like people who are giving this type of advice the benefit of the doubt that they just don't know any better, but it just doesn't make sense. Like it's so strange. It doesn't make sense.
It's really odd. There's a whole lot of misinformation out there.
There is.
I do think that's kind of what's cool about the community as well is we all have the opportunity to share positive reinforcement, science-backed principles that are fixing these types of things.
Right. Well, and that's, originally why we wanted to create the course and why we are even doing this podcast is just to help spread quality, like research-backed information that's going to help people have a better relationship with their dog. Because at the end of the day, like all these examples that we gave on the bad dog training advice, like unfortunately, like all of those, if you do them, are just going to hurt your relationship with your dog and just cause them to fear you. And like a fear-based relationship between dog and human, just it's not going to work. There's got to be like an actual connection, communication there. So yeah, I think what we're doing is important. And I think these examples show that all of us, like all of you listening or watching, like we all have like a little bit of a job to do, to just help spread the word about good, positive reinforcement training methods that are going to work and be, safe and good for our dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. And along the lines of some of this, if you're in the community, go and if you have weird or funny or crazy things that you've had dog trainers tell you, go find this post and add it to the comments there, or feel free to send us an email about some of them too, to training@pupford.com. We'd love to hear about some of those crazy, interesting things that people are suggesting.
Yeah.
It's really odd.
But thanks for coming on, guys. If you haven't already, please subscribe, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening via podcast, subscribe, leave us a review, leave a comment. We love hearing from you guys. We really would appreciate if you shared this episode as well. I think a lot of people would enjoy it. It's kind of nice to take a step back and have a little lighthearted episode, but hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for listening, guys. We really, really do appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
We'll see you.
Bye.